feel good. I felt good. It's a play that we work on during shoot-around pretty often, so it felt good to execute and had to trust in my teammates out there and being lucky enough and fortunate enough to hit a left-hand floater outside the free throw line. I thought I got a little closer in the paint, but when I looked at it after the game, and I was pretty far out. But shots that I work on and just being ambidextrous and being able to trust the skills that I work on when no one's watching, and fortunate enough to win in tonight.
Welcome to Inside the Mavs, presented by Aura. My name is Kevin Gray, Mavericks pre- and post-game host on 97.1 The Freak on the Dallas Mavericks Radio Network. Appreciate you joining me here for this latest mini-sode of Inside the Mavs. You can find me on Twitter at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to download and subscribe to Inside the Mavs on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts for free. If you're listening to the pod, if you're watching this on my YouTube channel at Kevin Gray Sports, make sure you like and comment on the video as well, and subscribe to Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. As the Mavericks get an incredible win over the Denver Nuggets, 107-105. Kyrie Irving's 20-foot lefty floater from the free throw line sinks the Denver Nuggets, snapping their 5-game winning streak as Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving combined for 61 points. Luka Doncic's game-tying three-pointer with 24 seconds left allowed and set up Kyrie Irving for the game-winning heroics to be able to get the Mavericks to 39-29 on the season. Now 7th place in the West, thanks to Damian Lillard and the Milwaukee Bucks taking out the Phoenix Suns on Sunday on St. Patrick's Day. The Mavericks getting a little luck as well from the Bucks as they were able to take out Phoenix. Now Dallas sits there in 7th, while the Sacramento Kings are in 6th, percentage points ahead of the Mavericks. They own the tiebreaker right now, but the Mavericks, of course, have 2 games left against Sacramento next week, where they have a chance to control their own destiny as we move toward the final 14 games of the regular season, and the Mavericks getting a pivotal win over the Denver Nuggets. As I mentioned, the Nuggets came into this game extremely hot, winners of 5 straight, 11-1 in their last 12 games, and looking like the absolute reigning NBA champion juggernaut coming into the game. But it was the defensive effort that the Mavericks were able to put forward. Yes, Jamal Murray had 12 points in the fourth quarter, including the go-ahead three-pointer, as he was able to get that with 27 seconds left in the fourth quarter, as the Nuggets used a 20-4 run to overcome a 13-point deficit in the fourth quarter to take a lead late. But Luka Doncic, as I mentioned, tied it with 24 seconds left with the 3 of his own. Jamal Murray then missed what would have been a go-ahead jumper for the Denver Nuggets, setting up Tim Hardaway to get the rebound. They advanced the ball to the front court. Maxi Kleber, who was able to get the inbound pass to Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving driving to his left on Nikola Jokic, puts up the lefty floater over the outstretched arms of Nikola Jokic and calls game for the Dallas Mavericks as they were able to escape the AAC with a much-needed win. As I mentioned, now 10 games above 500 as they move forward now for the final 14 games of the regular season, needing to get as many wins as possible as we enter the stretch run of the regular season, in a game where the Mavericks absolutely dominated and crushed the Nuggets on the glass, especially on the offensive glass, where the Mavericks were able to use 21 offensive rebounds in the game to out-rebound the Nuggets 59-37. That's right, boys and girls, a plus 22 on the glass where the Dallas Mavericks. PJ Washington was spectacular with 11 rebounds of his own, as the Mavericks were able to punish the Denver Nuggets on the glass time and time again, including in the third quarter alone, where they had 7 offensive rebounds. And that was really the story of the game for the Mavericks, their ability to be able to crash the glass and to be able to limit the Nuggets really to one possession for a lot of the game because of their ability to be able to handle themselves on the offensive and defensive glass, and the amount of ability to have the second chance points that they did. You look at the numbers in this game. The Dallas Mavericks, of course, with the 59 rebounds that they had, the 21 offensive rebounds that they had, were able to score 23 second chance points against Denver. time and time again, keeping possessions alive. In fact, so much so at one point in the fourth quarter, Daniel Gaffer got a second chance bucket and was able to get the bucket for the Mavericks. Mike Malone was so pissed off, he called a timeout saying, "Get an effing rebound," to his team as he's shouting to them as he is walking onto the floor. That was the kind of effort that the Mavericks put forward in this game and really gave themselves a chance, even when things weren't going well in terms of knocking down shots, to continue to relentlessly pursue the basketball in this game. And it paid off big time in the way that they handled their business against the Denver Nuggets. More on this game and more on the heroics of Kyrie Irving after we hear from today's sponsor of our podcast and our video, and let's hear from Aura. Today's video is brought to you by Aura. Do a Google search on your name and email address to see how much information comes up about you. I was devastated by the amount of information that I could be seeing searching my name and profile, and I knew then I needed to be protected for not just myself, but also for my family. Data brokers sell your information to scammers, spammers, and anyone else who may want to target you. Your full name, email, home address, health records, your relatives, it's all out there. That's why I've been using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests for me. Cleaning up my information not only helps reduce the amount of spam I get, but it protects me from hackers who could use this information to help them access my social media accounts, bank accounts, and other sensitive information. Aura also does so much more to protect me and my family from online threats that I can't see. It's really easy to set up, so I don't have to download several different apps to get things like antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more. I get everything at one affordable price. You may already have one of these tools already, but not having Aura is like locking the front door and leaving the back door wide open. Aura is always on, doing the hard work to protect me and my family so I can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. I value my privacy and I value yours. You can go to aura.com/Kevin Gray to start your 2-week free trial. Please see the link in the description. Back here on Inside the Mavs, thank you so much for hanging out with me through that quick break there and hearing from today's sponsor of our podcast and our video and hearing from Aura. The Mavericks, of course, in that fourth quarter up by 5 to begin the period. They went on a quick 4-0 run to increase their lead to 9 less than 2 minutes into the fourth quarter. That's where I mentioned where Mike Malone was so upset with his team for not being able to get offensive rebounds. In fact, the Mavericks had increased their lead to as many as 13 in that fourth quarter and led by 9 with just under 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. But the Nuggets, you knew were going to make a run. Yes, both teams shot well under 45% in this game. Mavericks going 42 of 100 for just 42%. Nuggets going just 37 of 84 for 44% in this game. But you knew the Nuggets were going to make a run, and were the Mavericks going to be able to withstand it and be able to find a way to call out a victory? And that's exactly what they did. And honestly, it reminded me of the game that they just had against the Oklahoma City Thunder, where, of course, Luka Doncic didn't make the trip. We learned before the game that Josh Green is going to be out for at least the next couple of weeks with his ankle sprain. But the Mavericks competed, and Kyrie Irving was the one that set the tone in that game, had 20 points in the first half, was really able to keep the Mavericks in the game throughout the course of that contest against the Thunder, but they competed until the end. And in this game, even when Denver made their runs, Michael Porter Jr. got off to a terrific start in the first quarter. Nikola Jokic wasn't much of a factor. Yes, he had some really nice passes in this game, finding Aaron Gordon multiple times in the dunker spot for easy buckets. But at the same time, the Mavericks were able to keep their poise and now find themselves getting their 19th win in the clutch. That's right. Coming into the game, the Mavericks are 18-8 in the clutch this season. They get their 19th win now in clutch time this year. That speaks to, again, the poise and the maturity of this team. No matter what situation they may find themselves in, they have been able, for the most part this season, to find a way to get a win. And you can do that when you've got an NBA champion in Kyrie Irving and, of course, a league MVP candidate every single year in Luka Doncic, is a 4-time first-team All-NBA selection and one of the 5 best players in the league to keep you in ball games. And that's exactly what Kyrie and Luka did. Luka had 12 points in the fourth quarter. You saw the effort that he continued to keep the Mavericks in it, hitting that clutch 3-pointer to have the Mavericks in position to get back into the game, where it felt like the Mavericks were folding like crazy down the stretch as the Denver Nuggets, as I mentioned, overcame that 13-point deficit. Jamal Murray was really able to heat up in that fourth quarter and really put the Nuggets on his back, even when Nikola Jokic really didn't have it from a scoring standpoint. That's what makes the Nuggets so dangerous. They got multiple guys, whether it be Michael Porter Jr., who did his thing, especially in the first half, or Jamal Murray being able to pick up the slack late in the fourth quarter as he did against the Mavericks. But the Mavericks' poise and maturity was able to withstand it. And yes, even the much maligned Maxi Kleber, who has struggled in terms of his scoring, there is no doubt that Maxi is struggling from the field, but the IQ and the defense, and collectively what the Mavericks were able to do defensively, especially in that fourth quarter and throughout the second half, really gave them a chance to be able to win this game. You look at what they did from a scoring perspective in the second half, holding the Denver Nuggets to just 44 points in that second half. The Mavericks allowed 61 points in that first half to Denver, but at the same time, just 44 in the second half, including 18 in that pivotal third quarter, where the Mavericks outscored the Nuggets 26-18. And I mentioned that quarter particularly because that is where the Mavericks dominated on the glass. In that particular quarter, they scored 16 points of the paint, but they had 9 second chance points, including, as we mentioned, 7 offensive rebounds in that third quarter. And you look at some of the contributors when it had on those offensive glass. Derek Lively II had 3 offensive boards. Derek Jones Jr., PJ Washington, who I mentioned, had 11 boards in this game. They crashed the glass and they found a way to beat Denver up on the inside, who came into the game a top 10 team scoring points in the paint. But it was the relentless effort of the Mavericks throughout that game, and especially in that third quarter where Kyrie Irving took over down the stretch. We saw how, of course, he was able to hit the incredible shot, which we'll get to more here in just a moment. But in that third quarter, Kyrie Irving scored the final 7 points of that third quarter for the Mavericks and really put them on his back to get them to a point where they had that 5-point lead going into the fourth quarter. Irving scoring 10 points overall in the quarter, but had the final 7 for the Mavericks, including that gorgeous lefty layup, which should have been something that piqued our curiosity and interest as the game went on, because, of course, with that gorgeous lefty layup in transition that he would, of course, have the incredible left-handed shot to win the game. But again, I'm mentioning these things because this is the way that the Mavericks have been able to do things with Gafford, with Lively, and their relentless ability to crash the glass. You think about the first couple of games that the Mavericks played against the Nuggets, where the Nuggets punished them in the paint. Not this time around when it came to the Mavericks' ability to hold their own in the paint. And you look at the final numbers in terms of points in the paint, Denver only had 38 in this game compared to the Mavericks' 62. So again, just another number to underscore what the Mavericks were able to do on the inside with Lively and Gafford, but more importantly, with their ability to crash the glass and get second chance buckets. And another thing that won't be talked about much in this game, but Dante Exum played well in this game as well, attacking Jamal Murray off the dribble, being able to get some easy buckets at the rim. The Mavericks made a concerted effort to make sure that they were attacking Denver throughout the course of the game, but realizing that their size could be used as a strength, and something that not only with Lively and Gafford, but also PJ Washington and others crashing the glass, because you and I know that rebounding is a team effort. Everyone has to crash the glass. Everyone has to show a relentless effort to get after the basketball. And you saw that time and time again in this game for the Mavericks, where they overcame early foul trouble with Gafford and Lively, even Luka Doncic in the first half as well. And they show their poise and their composure to get themselves in position to win this game. And what more can you say about Kyrie Irving, a former NBA champion, a perennial all-star in this league, someone who has made some of the biggest shots in the history of this league. Hello, Cleveland, winning them an NBA championship against the Golden State Warriors. This is not anything new for Kyrie Irving in terms of hitting incredible shots, but this one takes the cake. Think about the degree of difficulty on that shot, and more importantly, the audacity to take that shot in that moment over Nikola Jokic, a 2-time league MVP, reigning NBA Finals MVP, to hit that shot over his outstretched arms and to do it with the kind of flair and dramatic nature that he did it with, calling game for the Mavericks. And this is the moment why you acquire Kyrie Irving. Yes, Luka Doncic has hit his share of buzzer-beating shots. He's hit his share of game winners in this league. But at the same time, he was able to turn to a teammate of his who has been there, done that, and knocked down big-time shots before. And Kyrie Irving absolutely delivered. You even saw the incredible look that Luka Doncic had on his face, just falling over on the sideline, hand on his head. Max and Cleveland, hands on their heads in disbelief at the kind of shot that Kyrie Irving was able to make. And again, Irving delivering when the Mavericks absolutely needed him to, whether it be scoring the final 7 points of that third quarter or in the biggest moment of the game where they absolutely had to have it. As we look at the picture of the Western Conference, Denver was playing for the opportunity to take over the number one spot overall in the West, having been tied with the Oklahoma City Thunder coming into the game at 47-20. Nuggets continuing to try and get themselves that top seed in the West, but the Mavericks fighting for themselves to try and get themselves into the top six. And Jason Kidd talked about it after the game, and it's a theme that we'll continue to talk about, obviously, over the final 14 games. Mavericks are in playoff mode now. They're trying to get themselves in position to where they can avoid the play-in, avoid Kevin Durant, avoid LeBron James and Anthony Davis, avoid Stephen Curry as well, to try and get themselves where they don't have to worry about the play-in. And a win like this, you got to be able to steal. It's amazing how the basketball gods can give you the best of times and the worst of times. Today, obviously, or I should say Sunday, being the best of times. As you remember, just not too long ago, when the Mavericks were in the middle of losing 5 or 6 games, Max Strus going nuclear on the Mavericks, scoring 15 points in that fourth quarter, including the 60-foot buzzer beater to sink the Mavericks on the road against Cleveland. The basketball gods taketh away in that particular game, but they gaveth back in this game against the Denver Nuggets. And that's the way the ball bounces in the NBA and really in basketball at times. As long as you continue to give the game what it deserves, and the Mavericks absolutely did that in the game against the Denver Nuggets, putting together a terrific effort throughout the course of the game. And again, their defense leading them and getting them to a position to win this game. In the game where the Mavericks shot, as we look at it, only going 9 of 35 from downtown for 25%. Games where the Mavericks have not been able to shoot the ball well from three, they have been poorly played in those games, but at the same time, they're finding ways to win even when shots aren't going down. And this was another example of that, only hitting 9 threes in this game. But again, winning a different way, with effort, with grit, with toughness, and more importantly, with rebounding in this game. And if you're a Mavericks fan, that should be something that you should take some confidence in, that when shots aren't going down, this team will continue, hopefully, to put forward the kind of effort on the defensive end that will keep them in games. Because no matter what, if you're making shots or you're not, defensively, if you keep yourself in a ball game, you're going to give yourself a chance with these incredible scores and Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving an opportunity to win games. And that should be a big takeaway from this game if you're a Mavericks fan, is that, yes, their defense kept them in it long enough, even with the collapse of giving up the 13-point lead in the fourth quarter and still having to have a Luka Doncic 3 tie the game up before setting up Kyrie Irving to ultimately win it. Defensively is what got them into this game and kept them in this game against the Denver Nuggets, and a team that at times has not played well against above 500 teams and has not had a great record against some of the top teams in the NBA this year. This is what makes the Mavericks dangerous. Their ability now to play with different combinations. You saw Maxi Cleveland be able to close at the end. You saw Gafford play significant minutes in the fourth quarter as well. But Jason Kidd had a good game plan in utilizing their size and ensuring that everyone participated in terms of crashing the glass in this game. And, of course, you got your 2 stars leading you in terms of scoring. In fact, the Mavericks only had 3 guys in double figures. We mentioned Luka Doncic with his 37 points, Kyrie with his 24 points. Derek Lively was the only other Maverick in double figures with 14 points. He went 7 of 8 from the field, but also had 8 rebounds, 4 on the offensive glass and 4 on the defensive glass as well. So a complete team effort that the Mavericks utilized to take out the Denver Nuggets, and they needed this win in a big way to bounce back from the loss that they had against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now they get ready to go on the road to take on San Antonio and Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs before they start a crucial road trip. Once they finish up against Utah on Thursday, then they begin a 5-game road trip that includes Utah, but also, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, 2 games against the Sacramento Kings as they look forward to trying to control their own destiny. But the Mavericks utilize the incredible shot making of Kyrie Irving. Again, just the incredible use of his left hand. And he talked about it after the game as well. Things that he's worked on. In fact, he said he spends like an hour working on the left-handed portion of his game, and he made that look that incredibly difficult shot. I use the word incredibly a lot because it simply was incredible. He made it look that easy, pulling off an amazing shot over Nikola Jokic to win the game for the Dallas Mavericks. And now going forward, hopefully this is a building block of confidence and momentum going down the final 14 games of the season. What they can take with them is their ability to continue to crash the glass. Yes, you did not like to see the giving up of the 13-point lead, but what you did like to see is them not fold under pressure and lean on their superstars to make sure that they were going to come out of this game with the win and that they weren't going to leave the AAC without a win against the Denver Nuggets in a gut check win that they absolutely needed to have, as they're able to take advantage of the Phoenix Suns losing to the Milwaukee Bucks to now get themselves to 7th in the West. And this is all about continuing to climb up the Western Conference standings. But what a fantastic basketball game filled with drama and intensity, shot making, Luka, Kyrie winning it at the end. You couldn't ask for a better way for the Mavericks to continue to move forward for the rest of the year as they take out the Denver Nuggets 107-105, thanks to Kyrie Irving's absolutely sensational buzzer beater with the lefty finish over 20 feet over Nikola Jokic. I've watched that play maybe 50 times already and still in disbelief at the fact that Kyrie Irving had the audacity and the creativity to take that shot in that moment, and he sinks the Nuggets for a really, really big win for the Mavericks. That'll do it for this episode of Inside the Mavs. Again, my name is Kevin Gray, Mavericks pre- and post-game host on 97.1 The Freak on the Dallas Mavericks Radio Network. You can catch new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of Inside the Mavs, the official Mavericks podcast of 97.1 The Freak. I'll have more on this game throughout the course of the week, and of course get you ready for the Mavericks taking on the Spurs as well as the Utah Jazz. But again, episodes drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and game recaps as well right here on YouTube and occasionally on the podcast as well, like this one with Kyrie Irving and his sensational heroics. Again, my name is Kevin Gray, Mavericks pre- and post-game host on 97.1 The Freak for Inside the Mavs, presented by Aura. And I'll talk to you next time here on Inside the Mavs. Thanks for watching and listening to Inside the Mavs. We'll talk to you later. Peace.